Hello everyone, week 12. So our topic this week is standards and accountability. You're going to finish Parish with chapter 10, and then I have a couple of other things for you to read. There are some national standards for English language learners, and those had not been established when Parish published her book. We also didn't have the college and career readiness standards then, and the CCRS actually drive the curriculum of every adult ed program in the state of Colorado if they receive federal funding. You don't have to read the CCRS standards, but they are provided for you and want to know more. You can download them and keep them, because if you get hired to teach ESL by an adult ed program in Colorado, the chances are you're going to be learning a lot more about the CCRS. This video is just a primer, as well as some ideas for helping students develop close reading and helping them develop academic language skills so that when they get into adult basic ed, they are more ready for the academic rigor of their studies. So the CCRS are intended to be a link between what the students do in your classroom and what they can do at work, what they'll need when they go into secondary ed, or what they'll need when they go into higher ed. They are anchored by empirical evidence of what employers and educators actually want. And they are the approved set of academic standards for adult basic ed in Colorado. There are 3 key shifts from the CCRS. Before that, it was the Common Core state standards. These were adopted to replace the Common Core. And the 3 key shifts include that the text is more complex, not more difficult, but more complex, that students are giving evidence-based answers in reading, writing, and speaking, and that it builds knowledge. There are 4 strands in the CCRS. There's 1 for reading, 1 for writing. Speaking and listening are together, and then language is this overarching strand. And then each of the strands has a set of anchor standards that students should be able to do at their different levels. The level-specific standards are broken into five categories, and if you look at those, you see that they are aligned here with K-12. So where does that leave our adult ESL learners? I'll show you. Standard level A is all 3 beginning levels of ESL for the adults, levels 1 through 3. Standard B is level 4, C is level 5, D is level 6, and we're not even going to look at level E. This is what the anchors look like. Here's reading anchor 2 to determine central ideas or themes of a text and analyze their development, summarize the key supporting details and ideas. Remember column that level A, that first column, those are all 3 beginning levels. Students at those levels should be able to identify the main topic and retell key details of a text. But as they move up in level, so does the complexity of the text move up, so does the complexity of the task. And at all of these levels, each time the students are reading the text, they're getting deeper meaning from it. Writing anchor 5 is to develop and strengthen writing as needed by planning, revising, editing, rewriting, or trying a new approach. Again, the 3 basic beginning levels have a basic task with guidance and support that they can focus on a topic, respond to questions and suggestions from peers, and add details to strengthen writing as needed. Not much editing there except adding to the writing, but as we move up in level, so does the complexity of the task, where now their writing is getting more complex and they're doing much more planning, editing, revising, rewriting, and that type of thing. You don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of new books, but some of the newer ESL textbooks, like the new version of Ventures, are all aligned with the CCRS. You just use what you have, as long as it has level appropriate narrative reading. Make sure it's content rich and level appropriate, and pictures are an excellent source, especially at the beginning levels of ESL. Here's a nice picture of an adult ed class with a nice diverse student population. Let's say I'm teaching level 2 and we're going into a unit on school. So I give this picture to my students to look, to talk about, to identify the vocabulary. Maybe I'll do a language experience story from this, and we'll start to develop their reading and writing skills based on this picture. Look at this picture from Ventures 1, which is the correct book level for level 2 ESL. Look how much more complex this picture is. It's not more difficult, it's just more complex. It's content rich and it's level appropriate. There's a lot here that students can talk about, read about later, and write about. There are 4 useful resources for you in the Want to Know More section this week, all ideas on how to incorporate close reading and academic writing development in your ESL lessons. Your best strategy is to work with short texts that build skills. Don't give them a full page or 2 pages of very dense text. That's too much. Work with short texts that build skills. Get them reading that text multiple times, maybe even over a series of days or weeks where they are getting deeper knowledge each time they read it. They're developing transferable skills. You want to always establish the purpose for reading and writing and help students make connections with what they already know. I'm talking about complexity of text, not difficulty of text. Some strategies and activities to strengthen reading and writing. Language experience approach. It's going to show up again. Things like predicting and understanding inference. We've talked about these. Comparing or debating or using graphic organizers, or predicting what's going to happen next in the story after they finished reading it. What's going to happen next? Close reading is a key component of the CCRS, and it means that each time the learner reads this material, each time they're getting more meaning. They're uncovering deeper layers of meaning that develop to into deep comprehension of what the story says. The teacher is going to use text-dependent questions to drive the discussion and to provide students with a purpose for reading and multiple readings of the same text. One strategy for close reading is to teach students how to annotate the text, giving them a set of symbols to use for things that are important, things that are interesting, parts that they agree or disagree with, maybe a heart for a favorite part, question mark, of course, for the things they don't understand, circling unknown or new vocabulary, maybe underlining or highlighting important vocabulary, and then using one of the margins where they can write questions about the text, and the opposite margin can be for their comments and aha moments. However you teach your students to annotate, be consistent. Try to get the students using their higher level thinking skills. Remember Webb's depth of knowledge. These are from the lowest to the highest. The lowest thinking skills are just the recall. The higher thinking skill are the strategic thinking and the extended thinking. Here's another way to look at it. One way to help students develop their academic language is to get them using more complex questions and asking them to answer more complex questions. So we're going to go deeper in our thinking by going higher on a pyramid. At the base of this pyramid are the questions that require the lowest level thinking skills. In fact, students don't even have to produce any language here. They can just use the yes, no, I don't know cards. When we get into the WH questions, now the students are asking these questions, they're answering these questions. But again, these might be teacher generated as well. When we get into the top tier, this can be teacher or learner generated. But these types of questions require a lot more critical thinking and deeper thinking skills. So much more difficult, complex tasks with this higher level of questioning. And always ask, what's the evidence? Use the word evidence at all levels of ESL. Even beginners can begin to learn this word evidence. Point 2, show me the evidence. Point 2. Lots of fun activities to strengthen speaking and listening. The more fluent they get with their speaking, the better they are going to be at developing their academic language, and it's going to start to show up in their writing as well. Some of these activities you've probably seen, including line dialogues and concentric circles. Language experience approach turns up again. Student presentations or debates and story chains. In their listening and speaking, try to aim for the discourse level so that they're using more than just single words or single sentences, but actually able to hold their own in a conversation or a debate. You want to get them away from cell phonese. You want to get them away from the have to, gonna, wanna, coulda, shoulda, oh dude, LOL, OMG. You want them using this academic language in class so that they can begin to develop their academic knowledge. So that begs this question: how is your academic language? And if you think it needs some work, then simply read those documents and want to know more. Read how to use CCRS in your lessons. Read those college and career readiness standards. Just the very act of doing that will help you develop your own academic language. Here's a fun activity to help students hold their own in a conversation. We don't want them worrying about their grammar or their pronunciation. We want them to turn off that internal monitor. So I'm going to tell them to find a partner, and they're going to talk about something for 2 minutes. What do you like about winter? And they're going to sit there and they're going to talk to each other for 2 minutes, each person giving equal talk time. Then I stop them and I say, okay, same partner, new question. Talk about one activity you enjoyed doing during the winter. Again, they're going to talk for 2 minutes and I'm going to stop them. And now I'm going to bump them up into a higher level thinking skills with a pro and con discussion. They're going to have to find a new partner, select any winter activity, and discuss the pros and cons. Now this time each person gets to talk for 2 minutes. But before I set them off on this, I need to give them some scaffolding. I need to give them some transition words or some language for the pros and cons that is level appropriate for the learners. However, one advantage is a negative aspect of. Now these are all for higher students. These higher students cannot use the words but or why. Beginning students, those are the words you want them to use. Then we can expand this activity with comparing and contrasting or having debates or cause and effect. What will happen if? You establish the rules of engagement so that everybody gets equal talk time. Watch the clocks and make sure that everyone's getting equal talk time. Praise and respect everybody's ideas because all ideas are good ideas. And this teaches students to be active listeners. Finally, ask yourself if your activity is the correct level and maybe a little above. Does it lend itself to deeper questioning and discussion, whether it's a discussion activity or a reading activity? What needs to be modeled? What conversation skills will the students need to be successful? And what academic language will they learn, including math language? Things like equals or isn't equal to, or plus or minus, or even explaining the steps to a process. This all builds academic language. There are a lot of resources for the CCRS and bringing it into your ESL classroom. These are all great resources. So you've got a lot to do this week. Enjoy it, and I will see you in class next week. Bye-bye.